I am Master Jian, once the Emperor's trusted imperial censor, now a ghost to the world. Lady Anne and Chancellor Bao framed me for treason, stripped me of honor, and murdered my mother through shame. 3 years I planned in shadows while they gorged on power. At the Imperial New Year ceremony, I will plunge a poisoned blade into my own chest as their greatest fear stands before them. A righteous man with nothing left to lose but the sweet taste of vengeance. I am Master Jian, once the Emperor's trusted imperial censor, now a ghost to the world. Lady Anne and Chancellor Bao framed me for treason, stripped me of honor, and murdered my mother through shame. 3 years I planned in shadows while they gorged on power. At the Imperial New Year ceremony, I will plunge a poisoned blade into my own chest as their greatest fear stands before them. A righteous man with nothing left to lose but the sweet taste of vengeance. The Imperial New Year ceremony glitters with wealth and power. Gold and jade adorn every pillar. Red silk banners hang from the ceiling celebrating the year's prosperity. Prosperity built on corruption. Prosperity I once tried to expose. Chancellor Bao kneels before the Emperor, his gray beard nearly touching the marble floor. His benevolent smile masks the snake beneath. The Emperor lifts a ceremonial scepter, preparing to bestow yet another honor upon his most loyal servant. Lady Anne watches from among the courtiers, her painted lips curved in satisfaction. Her elaborate headdress catches the light from 1,000 lanterns. She thinks herself untouchable. They both do. I move through the crowd like a ghost. No one recognizes me. 3 years of exile have hollowed my cheeks and hardened my eyes. The fine robes of an imperial censor replaced by simple white garments of mourning. Mourning for my former self. Mourning for what I must become. I never wanted this path. The Master Jian, who served the Emperor with unwavering loyalty, would be horrified by what I've become. But that man died the day they destroyed him. The guards stand at attention, oblivious to my approach. I time my steps with the ceremonial drums. The rhythm covers my movement. Chancellor Bao rises, basking in the court's applause. This is the moment I've planned for years. Your Majesty. My voice cuts through the celebration like a blade. The music stops. 1,000 heads turn toward me. Recognition dawns in Chancellor Bao's eyes first. Fear follows instantly. Lady Anne's face drains of color, her powder-white complexion turning ghostly. These vipers have poisoned your court with treachery. I point directly at Bao and Lady Anne. They have stolen from your treasury, murdered your loyal servants, and betrayed your trust. Guards rush toward me from all sides. I don't have much time. My hand moves to my belt, drawing the cinnabar-tipped dagger. The blade catches the light, drawing gasps from the nearest courtiers. Looking back, I remember thinking how perfect this moment felt. Every eye watching, every ear listening. The stage set for the greatest performance in imperial history. Silence this traitor, Chancellor Bao shouts, but his voice quavers. He knows what's coming. Before the guards can reach me, I raise the dagger high, not to strike at others, but at myself. With a swift, practiced motion, I plunge the blade into my chest. The pain is excruciating despite my preparations. Blood blooms across my white robes, shockingly bright. The court erupts in chaos. Women scream, men shout in confusion. Guards freeze, unsure what to do about a man who has stabbed himself. Fall to my knees, blood dripping onto the polished marble floor. But I'm not finished. My blood cries out against these vipers. My voice rings clearly despite the wound. May my spirit haunt their every breath until justice scours their names from the annals of this empire. The words hang in the air like a physical thing. In our culture, the dying curse of a righteous man carries terrible weight. I see it in their faces. Terror. Pure terror. Lady Anne screams, a shrill sound that cuts through the chaos. Chancellor Bao stands frozen, his face ashen. The Emperor calls for his physician, genuine concern in his voice. He never knew. He was merely their puppet, not their accomplice. I collapse fully now, allowing my body to go limp. The physicians rush forward. I feel hands lifting me, carrying me away from the ceremony. I didn't plan to survive this. That would have been simpler. But simple vengeance wouldn't be enough. I needed to destroy them completely. Body, reputation, legacy, everything. Through half-closed eyes, I watch my network spring into action. Shadows moving through the panicked crowd. My loyal agents, carrying sealed packets of evidence to key officials throughout the palace. Evidence I spent 3 years gathering. Irrefutable proof of Bao and Anne's crimes. The pain grows distant as the poison on the blade takes effect. Not deadly poison, just enough to slow my heartbeat, to create the appearance of death. My physician accomplice will confirm my death, then secretly administer the antidote when no one is watching. I am lifted onto a stretcher, blood soaking through the fabric. Court officials stare, in horror as I'm carried past. Some make signs to ward off evil spirits. They believe they've witnessed a man sacrificing his life to deliver a curse. In truth, they've witnessed only the beginning of my vengeance. As consciousness fades, I see Chancellor Bao arguing frantically with his advisors. Lady Anne has collapsed, attendants fanning her face. The first cracks in their perfect facade. The last thing I hear before darkness takes me is the Emperor's voice demanding answers. The seeds of doubt have been planted. Now they will grow into the poison that destroys my enemies. I am Master Jian. They tried to bury me. They didn't know I was a seed. 3 years earlier, I walked the halls of the Imperial Palace with authority in my steps. Officials bowed deeply as I passed, some from respect, others from fear. I was Master Jian, Imperial Censor, the Emperor's instrument of justice. My office overlooked the palace gardens. Every morning, I arrived before dawn to review reports from my network of informants. The Emperor trusted me to find corruption and root it out. I never failed him. That particular morning, a stack of financial records awaited my inspection. Tax revenues from the southern provinces. Something caught my eye immediately. Discrepancies in the numbers. Large sums vanishing between collection and deposit in the imperial treasury. I recalled thinking it was a simple clerical error. I should have known better. Master Jian, my young assistant Liu Wei entered with fresh tea. The monthly reports from the salt merchants have arrived. Liu was the son of a scholar, brilliant and honest. I had personally selected him from hundreds of candidates. His integrity matched his intelligence. Bring them here, I said, and find the tax records from the eastern provinces as well. As Liu left, I studied the southern province numbers more carefully. The pattern was subtle but distinct. 5% of all collected taxes disappeared. Always 5%. 2. Consistent for error. I was known throughout the empire for my thoroughness. The common people called me the unyielding brush for my refusal to overlook even minor infractions. When I discovered corruption, I eliminated it completely. By midday, I had confirmed my suspicions. The missing funds appeared in multiple provinces, always following the same pattern. Officials under Chancellor Bao's direct supervision oversaw each affected region. Liu, I called, bring me the records of appointments made by Chancellor Bao over the past 5 years. Liu's face showed concern. Master, are you investigating the Chancellor? I investigate the evidence wherever it leads. I kept my voice neutral. Chancellor Bao was the second most powerful man in the empire. His friendship with the Emperor dated back to childhood. I remember how Liu's hands trembled slightly as he gathered the requested documents. He understood the danger. Investigating Bao meant risking everything. For 2 weeks I worked in secret, tracing the missing money. Each discovery led to another question. Who received the funds? How were they transported? Liu helped me piece together the puzzle, often working through the night. The pattern became clear. The money flowed through a network of merchants, all connected to Lady Anne's family. Properties purchased under false names, bribes to key officials, an entire shadow operation hiding in plain sight. Master Jian, Liu whispered one evening, I've found something disturbing. He placed a ledger before me, opened to a specific page. This merchant who received funds from the northern province tax collector made large purchases of land near the western border last month. I studied the document closely. The same day, 3 officials who opposed Bao's border policy were removed from office. Not just removed, Liu said. 2 died in accidents. The 3rd disappeared. That night I walked home through the capital's crowded streets. The weight of my discovery hung heavy on my shoulders. Chancellor Bao wasn't just stealing money. He was systematically eliminating opposition and consolidating power. My modest home stood in stark contrast to the mansions of other high officials. My mother taught me that excessive wealth breeds corruption. I lived by her principles. Jian, my mother called from her room as I entered. Though elderly, her mind remained sharp. You're late again. Important work, mother. I kissed her. Forehead. More important than your sister's marriage arrangements. The matchmaker came today. My younger sister appeared from the kitchen, her eyes bright with excitement. Brother, the matchmaker says the son of Magistrate Chen has expressed interest. I forced a smile, pushing away thoughts of conspiracy and corruption. Excellent news. The Chen family is respected. I didn't tell them about my investigation. I wanted to protect them from worry. My greatest mistake. The next morning, Liu didn't arrive at the usual time. I sent a messenger to his home. Hours later, the messenger returned with grim news. Liu had been found dead in the river, drowned according to city guards. Instinct told me otherwise. I requested permission to examine the body myself. The marks on his wrists and ankles told the truth. Liu had been bound before entering the water, murdered. At his funeral, I stood before his grieving parents and made a silent vow. Liu would have justice. The corruption would end, whatever the cost. My investigation intensified. I worked alone now, trust a luxury I couldn't afford. Each night I hid my findings beneath the floorboards of my study. Evidence implicating Chancellor Bao in embezzlement, bribery, and murder. Lady Anne's role became increasingly clear. While Bao handled political matters, she managed their network of spies and enforcers, the perfect partnership in corruption. Her beauty and charm served as cover for a calculating mind. I had no idea then that among my own household, her eyes and ears were already watching. 1 month after Liu's death, I had gathered enough evidence. Ledgers showing the flow of stolen funds, testimonies from merchants forced into Bao's schemes, maps of properties purchased with imperial money. That night I prepared the formal accusation for the emperor. My brush moved steadily across the official paper, detailing Bao and Lady Anne's crimes. I would present it the following morning during the emperor's public audience. I worked until dawn, checking each detail meticulously. The case had to be perfect. Chancellor Bao's influence ran deep. Only irrefutable evidence would convince the emperor. As the first light of morning touched my window, I sealed the documents with my official stamp. Justice would finally be served. I placed the documents in my leather case and prepared to leave for the palace. My servant Wang brought me tea, as he had done faithfully for 15 years. "A momentous day, master?" he asked, noting my formal attire. "Indeed, Wang. A day of reckoning." He bowed and withdrew. I should have noticed his hurried steps, the unusual tension in his shoulders. The signs were there, but I was blind to them. I sipped the tea, reviewing my strategy one final time. Outside, birds began their morning songs. All seemed peaceful, orderly, just as I had always tried to keep my life. Then came the pounding at my door. Imperial guards, dozens of them, led by Bao's personal enforcer. Before I could reach my case of evidence, they were inside, weapons drawn. "Master Jian," the enforcer announced, "by order of the emperor, you are under arrest for treason against the empire." Treason? I stared at the imperial guards filling my home. Their armor gleamed in the morning light. Their expressions were stone. "On what evidence?" The enforcer's smile made my blood run cold. "Evidence you've conveniently gathered yourself, Master Jian." Wang stepped from behind the guards. My loyal servant of 15 years now stood with my enemies. He held my leather case, the one containing my evidence against Chancellor Bao. Master keeps his most important documents under the third floorboard. In his study, Wang said, not meeting my eyes. The ones implicating himself in conspiracy against the throne. I lunged toward him, but was instantly restrained by guards. Wang, how long have you served her? Lady An has been most generous, he replied softly. Far more generous than an official who refuses to accept gifts or bribes. The guards tore up my floorboards. They removed not my carefully gathered evidence against Bao, but forged documents bearing my seal. Fabricated records showing massive bribes flowing into my accounts. Maps of my supposed secret meetings with border rebels. I knew at that moment I had been outplayed. While I investigated them, they had prepared my downfall. The journey to the palace passed in a blur. I was brought before the emperor not as his trusted censor, but as a criminal. The great hall, where I had presented my findings countless times, now became the stage for my destruction. Looking back, I realize how meticulously they had prepared their performance. Chancellor Bao stood beside the emperor, his expression one of profound disappointment. Your Majesty, it pains me deeply to present these findings. Master Jian, whom we all trusted, has betrayed that trust in the most egregious manner. Guards forced me to my knees as Bao displayed the forged evidence. Ledgers bearing my seal showed funds diverted to private accounts. Letters in my handwriting detailed plans to undermine imperial authority. Furthermore, Bao continued, we have testimony from merchants confirming these transactions. 3 men stepped forward, merchants I had investigated previously for tax evasion. Each recounted elaborate stories of how I had extorted money from them, threatened their families, demanded bribes. I searched the faces of the court officials looking for allies. I found only averted gazes. No one would risk themselves for a fallen censor. From behind her decorative screen, I could feel Lady Anne watching. Though tradition kept noble women partially hidden during court proceedings, I sensed her satisfaction. This was her orchestration as much as Bao's. These accusations are false, I declared, my voice steady despite my rage. Chancellor Bao and Lady Anne have created this elaborate fiction to hide their own massive corruption. I have spent months gathering evidence of their crimes. The emperor's expression remained impassive. And where is this evidence? In my case, which was seized during my arrest, but the documents there have been replaced with forgeries. The emperor turned to Bao, who shook his head sadly. Your Majesty, the desperate lies of a guilty man. We found exactly what we expected in his hiding place. No substitution occurred. Bring Master Jian's servant, the emperor commanded. Wang entered, head bowed in false humility. He recounted finding suspicious documents months ago, but remaining silent out of loyalty. How he finally reported his concerns to Chancellor Bao when he overheard me discussing plans with unknown conspirators. Every word was a perfectly crafted lie. I thought then that truth would be my shield. I was a fool. Your Majesty, I said, I have served you faithfully for 15 years. I have never taken a bribe, never compromised my principles. Why would I suddenly commit these crimes? The emperor studied me for a long moment. I saw doubt flicker in his eyes. Then Bao leaned close, whispering something. The doubt vanished. Master Jian, the emperor declared, the evidence against you is overwhelming. You are hereby stripped of all titles and honors. Your property is forfeit to the throne. You are banished from the capital on pain of death. The pronouncement fell, like a physical blow. My life's work, my reputation, my honor, all destroyed in a single moment. As guards dragged me away, I heard Bao's voice, pitched for my ears alone. Such a shame. I always respected him. Outside the palace, a crowd had gathered. Word of my disgrace had spread quickly. People who had bowed to me that very morning now hurled insults and garbage. The guards made no effort to stop them. I caught sight of my mother and sister near our home, surrounded by officials confiscating our property. My mother's face was a mask of shock and disbelief. When she saw me in chains, she collapsed. Mother! I tried to rush to her but was beaten, back by guards. My sister knelt beside her, looking up at me with tears and confusion. Then Lady Anne's personal attendants appeared, taking my sister by the arms. "What is this?" I demanded. "Where are you taking her?" "Lady Anne has generously offered to take your sister into her household," one official explained. "Given your disgrace, no respectable family would consider her for marriage now." I understood the true cruelty of this generosity. My sister would become a servant in Lady Anne's household, a daily reminder of her triumph over me. "Jian," my sister called as they led her away. "I don't understand what's happening." "Be strong," I shouted back. "I will find a way to—" A guard's fist slammed into my stomach, cutting off my words. I was thrown onto a cart like refuse to be transported beyond the capital's borders. As we passed through the city gates, I heard the official announcement of my crimes being read in the main square. My name became synonymous with treachery. For 3 days I was taken farther from the capital, deeper into the rural provinces. Finally, at the edge of a small farming village, the guards dumped me onto the dirt road. "By order of the Emperor, you are forbidden to return to the capital," the captain declared. "Do so, and you will be executed immediately." They left me, with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, no horse, no provisions. They expected me to die, forgotten and disgraced. I learned later that my mother never recovered from the shock of my disgrace. She died 3 days after my banishment, her heart giving out from shame and grief. My sister became what I feared, a servant in Lady Anne's household. Not just any servant, but her food taster, deliberately placed in daily danger of poisoning, the ultimate humiliation. Standing on that dirt road, watching the Imperial Guards ride away, I made a vow. Chancellor Bao and Lady Anne had destroyed everything I loved. They had murdered my mother through shame, enslaved my sister, and stripped me of my identity. I would return that suffering tenfold. "Remember this moment when your downfall comes," I had told Bao. Now I would make good on that promise. I am Master Jian. They thought they had destroyed me. They had only created their destroyer. I wandered for weeks, after my banishment. The once respected imperial censor reduced to begging for scraps. Farmers offered food out of pity. Some recognized me and turned away in disgust. The disgraced official, the traitor. News reached even the remote villages. My mother dead from shame. My sister serving as Lady Anne's food taster. My name forever stained with treachery. One rainy evening I found myself at the edge of a swollen river. The water rushed dark and violent below me. One step forward would end my suffering, end the shame, end everything. I stood there for hours, the rain soaking through my tattered robes. In that moment, I faced the greatest moral choice of my life. The honorable path would be to accept my fate with dignity, perhaps even to end my life, as disgraced officials often did. The righteous Master Jian would have chosen this path. But that man was dead already, killed by Chancellor Bao and Lady Anne as surely as if they had used a blade. To fight monsters, I whispered to the rushing water, I must become something monstrous myself. I made my decision, not to die, but to ensure their destruction. Justice required deception now, required me to abandon traditional honor. I am Master Jian. That night by the river, I chose vengeance over honor. I have never regretted it. I tore strips from my robe and tied them to branches along the riverbank. I left my worn sandals at the edge of the water, the scene of a suicide, the final chapter in the tragedy of the disgraced censor. By morning, I was miles away, a new man being born with each step. The righteous censor died in that river. Something colder, more calculating emerged. I found work with a traveling medicine peddler, an old man named Wei, who asked no questions about my past. I became his assistant, learning the properties of herbs and minerals, which relieved pain, which induced sleep, which could kill if properly administered. You have the hands of a scholar, Wei observed one evening as I ground herbs with a mortar and pestle. I was a minor clerk in the capital, I lied. I lost my position due to illness. Wei accepted this with a nod. The world is full of men whose lives took unexpected turns. For 6 months I traveled with Wei, building my knowledge of medicines and poisons. I learned to change my appearance, to blend in with any crowd. I grew a beard. I deliberately scarred my face with herb mixtures, to alter the shape of my cheeks and brow. I learned the most valuable lesson of all: patience. The perfect revenge could not be rushed. When Wei died peacefully in his sleep, I inherited his medicines and his identity. I became Ming, the physician, traveling to villages treating ailments, building a reputation for unusual cures. My skills brought me to larger towns than small cities, always moving closer to the capital, always gathering information. Who remained loyal to Chancellor Bao? Who suffered under his policies? Who might be turned against him? I began to build my network slowly, carefully. A merchant ruined by Bao's extortion, a former soldier whose family starved due to diverted funds, a junior official who had been my student years ago, now disillusioned by the corruption he witnessed daily. Each person became a strand in my web. Each carried a piece of evidence. None knew the full extent of my plan. Looking back, those 2 years of preparation were when I truly mastered the art of patience. I sent my agents into the capital with specific tasks. This one to observe guard rotations at Bao's residence. That one to catalog which officials attended Lady Anne's exclusive gatherings. Another to infiltrate the staff of the Imperial Palace. Piece by piece I reconstructed the puzzle of their corruption. The network was vaster than I had originally uncovered. Bao's influence extended to military commanders. Lady Anne controlled a network of courtesans who gathered secrets from powerful men. The most valuable intelligence came from the most unexpected source. One of my agents posing as a servant reported that Lady Anne suffered from severe headaches that left her bedridden for days. She sought relief from various physicians, none successful. This was my opportunity. I crafted my approach carefully. A new physician from the western provinces, claiming to have studied unique techniques for treating such ailments. My agent spread rumors of my success with similar cases. The invitation came within weeks. Lady Anne's personal attendant arrived at my modest lodging in a town near the capital. My reputation had reached her mistress's ears. Would I attend to her? I remember feeling a surge of savage satisfaction. The woman who helped destroy me was now seeking my help. Unknown to her, the enemy she thought dead would soon be at her bedside. Entering the capital required nerve. Guards at every gate had descriptions of known criminals and banished individuals. I had altered my appearance significantly, but the risk remained. I am Master Jian, the man who once enforced the Emperor's justice, now sneaking into the capital like a thief. I needn't have worried. My disguise was perfect. The guards waved through the humble physician without a second glance. My weathered face, stooped posture, and medical supplies created the perfect cover. Lady Anne's residence stood near the palace, a testament to her husband's influence. Ornate gates opened to gardens where rare flowers bloomed. Servants hurried about, preparing for some evening function. I was led through side entrances to the private quarters. The attendant explained her mistress's condition in hushed tones. The severe pain, the sensitivity to light, the treatments already attempted. Her ladyship is most particular, the attendant warned. The last physician who failed to provide relief was flogged. I understand, I replied, keeping my voice soft and deferential. Then I was in her chamber. Heavy curtains blocked the sunlight. The air was thick with incense. Lady Anne reclined on a daybed, her famous beauty dulled by pain. I approached slowly, head bowed appropriately. Inside, my heart hammered against my ribs. This woman had helped destroy my life, had caused my mother's death, had enslaved my sister. Now she was at my mercy. I could kill her easily. The right mixture in her medicine would cause a slow, painful death that would appear natural. No one would suspect the humble physician, but that would be too quick, too merciful, and it would leave Chancellor Bao unpunished. Your ladyship, I murmured. I am honored to be of service. She did not look at my face, instead waving a delicate hand for me to proceed. "Can you stop this infernal pain?" "I believe so, your ladyship. I have treated similar conditions with great success." As I examined her, asking questions about her symptoms, I made a discovery that changed my plans entirely. The incense in her room had a distinctive odor beneath the floral scent. Opium. Lady Anne was an opium user, perhaps initially for her headaches, but the quantity suggested dependence. This was valuable knowledge. I prepared a mixture that would indeed relieve her pain, but also one that would make her more receptive to my future treatments. More dependent on them, more likely to speak freely under their influence. "This will bring immediate relief," I promised, helping her drink the medicine. "I will prepare a supply you may take when needed." Within minutes, her features relaxed. The pain receded. She looked at me directly for the first time, studying my scarred face with newfound interest. "You have unusual methods, physician," she said, "but effective ones. You will attend me regularly." "As your ladyship wishes." I bowed deeply to hide my smile. I had gained entry to the inner sanctum of my enemy. From here, I could gather information impossible to obtain otherwise. I could observe Chancellor Bao up close. I could listen to their private conversations. I could learn their weaknesses. Most importantly, I could build my case against them all over again. This time, the evidence would be undeniable. I am Master Jian. The man they thought they had destroyed was now inside their walls, invisible, patient, and deadly. Lady Anne became dependent on my medicines, each mixture carefully crafted to ease her pain while loosening her tongue. Within 2 months, I knew the intimate details of her household, the secret passages, the guard rotations, the visitors who came under cover of darkness. Most valuable were the moments when opium and my special herbs left her in a twilight state between wakefulness and dreams. She spoke freely then, revealing secrets she would never consciously divulge. "The Emperor suspects nothing," she murmured, once eyes unfocused. "Bao has him wrapped around his finger like a child's toy." Another time, the northern province governor threatened to expose our arrangement. Unfortunate how river travel can be so dangerous. His boat will never reach the capital. I recorded everything in code using a system only I could decipher. The evidence mounted, more damning than what I had gathered before my disgrace. During one session, Lady Anne received an unexpected visitor. I was hidden behind a screen preparing medicines when Chancellor Bao entered. I froze, afraid even to breathe. "The merchants from the western border are demanding more protection money," Bao said without preamble. "They threaten to take their complaints to the Emperor." Lady Anne laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Let them. We own every official who might investigate. Besides, the Emperor trusts you implicitly since you exposed that traitor Jian." My hands tightened around the mortar and pestle. The effort not to reveal myself nearly broke me. "Still," Bao continued, "we should make an example. The merchant leader Feng has a pretty daughter. Perhaps an accident should befall her." "Always. So crude, husband," Lady Anne sighed. "The man values money more than his daughter, double his tax burden. When he cannot pay, offer to forgive the debt in exchange for exclusive trade rights. He will agree and we profit more in the long term. I am Master Jian." In that moment, listening to them casually plot more corruption, I renewed my vow to destroy them completely. Through Lady Anne, I gained access to Chancellor Bao's private study during times he was away at court. I discovered his hidden ledgers, recording bribes and extortion. I found maps marking the locations of officials who had been eliminated for opposing him. Most significantly, I learned of his superstitious nature. The powerful chancellor, feared throughout the empire, secretly consulted fortune tellers and spiritual advisors. He wore protective amulets beneath his official robes. He feared spirits and curses above all else. This knowledge completed my plan. For 2 years, I played my role perfectly, the humble physician grateful for Lady Anne's patronage, all while building my network, gathering evidence, positioning my agents throughout the capital. I cultivated new allies among those Bao had wronged. The father of a girl forced into service in Bao's household, a merchant whose entire shipment was confiscated on false charges, a junior official beaten for questioning discrepancies in provincial reports. Each became a strand in my web. Each carried part of my vengeance without knowing the whole. Looking back, I see how those years changed me. The righteous censor who believed in the system was gone. In his place stood a patient predator, willing to wait years for the perfect moment to strike. Two events signaled that moment had arrived. First, my sister died under mysterious circumstances in Lady Anne's household, poisoned while performing her duties as food taster. I received word through my network. I allowed myself one night of grief, then channeled that pain into my purpose. Second, the Emperor announced a special Imperial New Year ceremony. Chancellor Bao would receive unprecedented honors for his service to the Empire. The entire court would attend, the perfect stage for my return. I began the final preparations. The cinnabar-tipped dagger specially designed to create maximum blood with minimal damage. The formula I would coat it with, creating symptoms of death while keeping me conscious enough to deliver my curse. I trained my body to withstand pain. Each night I practiced the precise angle of the blade that would miss vital organs. I rehearsed my curse until each word carried the weight of divine judgment. Most importantly, I prepared my network for simultaneous action. Evidence packets to be delivered to key officials the moment my suicide occurred. Testimonies from those Bao had wronged. Maps to hidden treasuries where he stored his illegal wealth. My physician accomplice who would confirm my death, then secretly administer the antidote when my body was removed from the ceremony. I am Master Jian. On the morning of the Imperial New Year ceremony, I awoke feeling eerily calm. Today I would die in one life and potentially be reborn in another. The Great Hall was prepared for celebration. Red lanterns hung from every beam. Golden dragons coiled around pillars, the air thick with incense and anticipation. I entered with other commoners allowed to witness the ceremony from a distance. My simple white mourning robes distinguished me from the colorful crowd. My scarred face and beard rendered me unrecognizable to those who had known me before. Chancellor Bao entered with great ceremony, his official robes heavy with gold embroidery. He looked every inch the powerful statesman. Only I knew the corruption beneath that benevolent exterior. Lady Anne took her place among the noble women, her beauty restored by my treatments. She had no idea her trusted physician now stood among the crowd, preparing her destruction. The Emperor ascended his throne, resplendent in imperial yellow. Drummers signaled the beginning of the ceremony. Chancellor Bao approached the throne ready to receive his new honors. This was the moment. Everything I had planned for years culminated in these few minutes. I moved through the crowd. No one stopped me. No one recognized the disgraced official presumed dead for years. I reached the open space before the throne just as Bao knelt to receive his honor. "Your Majesty," my voice cut through the ceremonial music. The hall fell silent. All eyes turned to me. I saw the moment recognition dawned in Chancellor Bao's eyes. First confusion, then disbelief, finally naked fear. Lady Anne's painted face drained of color. "These vipers have poisoned your court with treachery." I pointed directly at Bao and Lady Anne. "They have stolen from your treasury, murdered your loyal servants, and betrayed your trust." Guards rushed toward me. I had perhaps seconds before they reached me. I pulled the cinnabar-tipped dagger from my sleeve. The blade caught, the light, drawing gasps from the audience. Before the guards could stop me, I plunged the dagger into my chest with practiced precision. Pain exploded through my body despite my preparation. Blood bloomed across my white robes, brilliant red against stark white. I fell to my knees but kept my voice strong. "My blood cries out against these vipers. May my spirit haunt their every breath until justice scours their names from the annals of this empire." The hall erupted in chaos. Women screamed, men shouted. Guards froze, uncertain how to respond to a man who had just stabbed himself. Through pain-narrowed eyes, I watched Chancellor Bao's reaction. His face had gone ashen. In a culture where omens and spirits held tremendous power, a dying man's curse was the most potent of all. Lady Anne collapsed, her attendants rushing to fan her face. The Emperor called for his physicians. I allowed myself to go limp as they carried me from the hall. Through half-closed eyes, I saw my network spring into action, shadows moving through the chaos, delivering sealed packets to key officials. My physician accomplice met the imperial doctors, asserting his expertise with such wounds. I was taken to a private chamber, where he quickly administered the antidote to the mild poison on the blade. "It worked perfectly," he whispered. "The blade missed all vital organs. The blood makes it look worse than it is. You will recover." "And my curse?" I asked, my voice weak but determined. "Already spreading through the palace like wildfire. Chancellor Bao has called for Buddhist monks to perform protective rituals. Lady An has locked herself in her chambers." I smiled despite the pain. "Now we wait for the evidence to do its work. I am Master Jian. My death became my greatest weapon. My curse the beginning of their end." For 3 days I recovered in a hidden chamber beneath the shop of my physician accomplice. The wound was painful but healing well. Through my network I received hourly reports of the chaos unfolding in the palace. My curse had struck its targets perfectly. Chancellor Bao, the powerful statesman who controlled the empire from the Gia shadows, now jumped at every noise. He ordered protective talismans hung throughout his residence. He consulted 5 different fortune tellers, seeking ways to counter my dying curse. Lady Anne fared worse. Her opium use increased dramatically. She refused to leave her chambers, convinced my spirit lurked in every shadow. In her drug-addled state, she rambled freely to her handmaidens, several of whom belonged to my network. Most satisfying were the reports of the evidence packets. They had been delivered simultaneously to key officials throughout the palace. Irrefutable proof of Bao and Anne's corruption, ledgers showing stolen funds, maps to hidden treasuries, testimonies from victims and accomplices. The Emperor, shaken by my public suicide and the evidence mounting hourly, ordered an official investigation, not by Bao's usual cronies but by his most trusted personal advisors. I am Master Jian. Even in my death, I was achieving what I could not in life. Justice was finally in motion. On the 4th day, my physician brought unexpected news. Lady Anne's chief handmaiden had been arrested after being caught trying to burn incriminating documents. Under questioning, she revealed the location of even more evidence in a hidden compartment in Lady Anne's private chambers. "The Emperor is furious," my physician reported. "The investigation has expanded to include all officials connected to Chancellor Bao." By the 6th day, Chancellor Bao attempted to flee the capital. Perhaps he planned to reach the western border and escape into neighboring territories. He never made it. My agents in the city guard were watching every gate. He was captured with chests of gold and jewels, further confirming his guilt. I allowed myself a grim smile at the news. The mighty Chancellor reduced to a common fugitive. Lady Anne remained locked in her chambers, now under guard. Her opium-fueled ramblings had provided investigators with names of accomplices, details of murders ordered, and locations of additional evidence. On the 7th day, I received word that the Emperor had scheduled a special court session. Chancellor Bao and Lady Anne would face public judgment for their crimes. The entire court would witness their fall. It was time for my resurrection. My physician dressed my wound carefully. Though still painful, it had healed enough for what I planned next. I wore simple robes of white, the color of mourning, with the blood stain still visible on the chest. "Are you certain about this?" my physician asked. "You could disappear, start a new life elsewhere. Your revenge is already complete." "Not quite," I replied. "I must see it with my own eyes." The Great Hall was packed with officials and nobles when I arrived. Guards escorted Chancellor Bao and Lady Anne to the center of the hall. Their transformation shocked even me. Bao's imposing presence had collapsed. His proud shoulders now stooped, his commanding voice reduced. to mumbles. His expensive robes replaced by a prisoner's rough garments. Lady Anne's famous beauty had withered. Her face was gaunt, her eyes wild from opium withdrawal. Her elaborate gowns exchanged for plain white, the color of death and surrender. The emperor sat on his throne, his face hard as stone. The evidence of their crimes was displayed on tables before him. Ledgers, maps, witness testimonies. The case I had built over 3 years of patient work. I stood at the back of the hall, hidden among minor officials. I wanted to witness their judgment before revealing myself. Chancellor Bao, Lady Anne, the emperor's voice carried throughout the hall. The evidence against you is overwhelming. You have stolen from the imperial treasury. You have ordered the deaths of loyal officials. You have betrayed my trust and harmed my people. Bao fell to his knees, forehead touching the floor. Your Majesty, I have been misled by corrupt subordinates. I knew nothing of these crimes. Lady Anne remained standing, her eyes darting around the hall as if searching for escape. It was all his doing, she said, pointing to her husband. He forced me to participate. I was merely a wife obeying her husband. I am Master Jian. Watching my enemies turn on each other was even more satisfying than I had imagined. Silence, the Emperor thundered. You accuse each other even now. The evidence shows you work together in perfect partnership of corruption. He lifted a document from the table. This testimony from your own servant describes how you, Lady Anne, personally ordered the poisoning of 3 officials who opposed your husband's policies. He took another document. And this ledger in your handwriting, Chancellor Bao, details bribes paid to officials throughout the empire. The Emperor's voice grew colder. Most disturbing is what you did to Master Jian, a loyal servant who discovered your crimes. You framed him with false evidence. You destroyed his reputation. You caused his mother's death through shame. You enslaved his sister in your household. I felt my chest tighten at the mention of my family. The wound under my robe seemed to pulse with renewed pain. The dead speak louder than the living, the Emperor continued, lifting a packet bearing my personal seal. Master Jian's evidence, gathered at the cost of his life, condemns you both beyond any doubt. The sentence came swiftly. Chancellor Bao would suffer death by 1,000 cuts, the most painful and humiliating execution reserved for the worst traitors. Lady Anne would be granted the mercy of forced suicide by poison, in deference to her noble birth. As guards moved to lead them away, I stepped forward from the crowd. The hall fell silent as I walked toward the throne. Officials parted before me, some making signs to ward off evil spirits. Your Majesty, I said, my voice steady and clear. I beg permission to address the court. The Emperor stared at me, recognition slowly dawning in his eyes. Master Jian, can it be? We were told you died from your wounds. Reports of my death were premature, Your Majesty. I bowed deeply. The righteousness of my cause gave me strength to survive. Gasps echoed through the hall. Lady Anne screamed, convinced she was seeing a ghost. Chancellor Bao fell to his knees, trembling uncontrollably. A miracle, the Emperor declared. Heaven itself has preserved you to witness justice. I approached Bao and Anne, who cowered before me. Lady Anne's terror gave way to desperate pleading. Master Jian, she whispered, show mercy. I was always an admirer of your integrity. I was forced to participate in my husband's schemes. Was my sister forced to taste your food for poison? I asked quietly. Was she shown mercy when she died in your service? Lady Anne's eyes widened. She had not known I was aware of my sister's fate. I can offer you comfort, she said, her voice dropping to a seductive whisper. Things my husband never enjoyed. Spare me, and I will be yours in ways you cannot imagine. I leaned close as if considering her offer, our faces inches apart. I died that day in the court, I whispered. What stands before you is merely justice wearing my face. I stepped back and watched as a court official handed her the poison cup. Her hands trembled as she raised it to her lips. Her eyes never left mine as she drank, searching for a mercy that wasn't there. Chancellor Bao was dragged away to await his execution. His pleas for mercy faded as the doors closed behind him. The emperor descended from his throne and approached me. Master Jian, you have survived great injustice to bring these criminals to justice. I restore all your titles and honors. Your family name is cleared of all disgrace. Thank you, Your Majesty. I bowed deeply. I am Master Jian. My vengeance was complete. My enemies destroyed. Justice served through means both righteous and terrible. Months passed. I resumed my position as imperial censor with unprecedented authority. The emperor trusted me above all others after my miraculous return. I used this power to root out the remaining corruption in Bao's network. His entire clan was either executed or exiled to distant border regions. My sister was given a proper burial, with full honors. My mother's reputation restored. A memorial temple built in their memory. One evening, a young official approached me in the palace gardens. He bowed deeply, his face alight with admiration. Master Jian, your story inspires us all, he said earnestly, to endure such injustice yet maintain your righteousness through it all. How did you preserve your integrity during such suffering? I smiled and placed a hand on his shoulder. My fingers traced the outline of the scar beneath my robes, the mark of my vengeance. They still call me righteous. If only they knew the darkness I nurture beneath my robes, right next to the scar that birthed my vengeance.